At school, because my mother was a teacher, she always had this idea that she was seeing things that weren't there because she was a teacher. So I was good verbally, I was good at my lessons, I was a C/B student, but my spelling was really, really bad, and I couldn't seem to do anything to make it better. And I had a really bad memory, I wasn't very organized, all these little things. Unfortunately, when she went to her Senko, when I was in primary school, which is a very long time ago, the Senko actually told her that dyslexia didn't exist.
Oh, right, that was nice.
A middle class excuse for stupid children. So my mother was a bit confused and was like, okay, if that's what you're saying. And so I just worked harder. I did lots of work at home. I did extra work at home with my mum. And then when I went to secondary school, my mother noticed that I was reading a sign and I was staring at it really strangely, and she asked me why. And I said, well, I'm trying to keep the words still. And she went, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm trying to keep the words still so I can read them. And she went, okay. You've never told me that you see words move before. And I said, well, no, because my assumption was everyone did. It was normal because that's, my reality was that. So I thought everyone's reality was that. So my parents, and I went through the dyslexia system at school, in my primary school. I passed it in secondary school as well because it was a reading test and I could read in context. I was fine with reading, so it wasn't flagged up. And so my parents had to pay privately for me to have a dyslexia test just before my GCSEs. And they said I was amazingly dyslexic, and they were very surprised I had survived school. And then after that diagnosis, you kind of realize things that you do that other people don't have to do, that you do. And so,
like what sort of things?
So I would use displays a lot in the classroom. I would definitely use them for spellings. I would always have my eyes looking everywhere for any words that I would use in my writing. My writing was very different from my verbal skills. So my teachers did notice that I could talk about a subject. So when I wrote it, I really limited my language because I was trying to be able to spell the words. And so harder words I couldn't spell, I didn't use them. And I got on very well with my teachers. My teachers found marking my work brilliant because the words I would create were very creative. It didn't make a lot of sense, but it was very creative. And I would use music a lot and colour a lot. So spellings, I would sing them to learn them, to remember them. And even now to this day, some words I have to hum in order to remember how to spell them. Colour coding, my whole life was colour coded. Everything was colour coded. And also in my house, on every landing, there would be a whiteboard and pen. There still is, because I will forget going from one landing to another what I'm doing. And I've been like that all my life. So memory was the main issue I had, in that I would, with spelling, I would remember to spell the word for the spelling test. I'd pass the spelling test, I'd get like 8 out of 10. But 2 hours after the spelling test, I couldn't spell one word. So they were kind of pointless because I just could not remember to spell the words.
So did the assessment give you extra time, or was it too late for extra time?
The assessment gave me half an hour extra time in my GCSEs. But like I said at the time, if I can't spell it, you can give me 3 days. I still won't be able to.
Right.
But it was fine. I got 9 GCSEs, so it was okay. I didn't pass my maths one the first time around. Part of my dyslexia was my memory. Is I actually find higher math easier than easier math. And so when I did my retakes, I was the only person in my retake year that passed, because apparently the exam was slightly more algebraic. So visual maths, I'm better at. Anything visual, I'm better at. And also learning, I am a person that needs to see it. So if you show me how to do it and you show me it, absolutely fine. If you give me an instruction paper, it will take me about 3 or 4 times as longer to do it. And those are things that I take into my job.
Right. So when you did your GCSEs, what did you do next then?
I did A levels after GCSEs. I did three A levels, and then because my main passion was art and design, I went to university and I wanted to do a fine art degree. But to do a fine art degree, A level art wasn't enough. I needed to do a GMVQ. So I did a GMVQ, and during that year, I actually discovered I didn't want to do fine art. I wanted to do graphic design. So I then, after a year, did a degree in design studies, which was brilliant and not easy. Some of the stuff was brilliant. I did photography, and we had to build computers, and I did computer graphics and painting and model making, which I really enjoyed. And I also have to do, had to do essays about postmodernism and lots of writing. And I didn't get any dispensation really at university, apart from some of the computers. I mean, this was a while ago as well, but some of the computers had a special dyslexia program, because I discovered in Word, firstly, I would use the correct spelling, but I would use the wrong word. And also some of the spellings, the computer simply just looked at me and went, "What? No, I'm sorry, I can't help you. This is recognizable."
So using the spell checker, it doesn't know the difference between there and there. So, for instance,
it didn't really help a lot.
Yeah.
So and it just meant that my friends could go out a lot more than I could. I'd be in the library till 9 most nights, sort of color coding again my life with highlighter pens that were my friends, just every night.
So you didn't really get much support from the university?
Not a huge amount from university. In secondary school, I got a small amount of support. I got special English classes, which were mainly me being taken out of German, which was the language we were learning. And I played solitaire quite a lot. And I learned spellings, which didn't really help a great deal, to be fair. I didn't really get a lot of support from school generally. Most of my support came from my parents and my friends.
What other than color coding, presumably, did you use color overlays when the words were all leaping around, or did that not work?
I discovered that yellow is my color, and when I went to university, I started using yellow paper. But it's gotten to the point where, because I had to learn to read with the words moving, I actually find it a bit harder to read when they're still. So it's tiring, because it's very hard to explain. The words look like they're kind of underwater. So when you move the water, the words kind of undulate. And so you have to concentrate quite hard to keep the words still enough for you to read them. And as soon as you're not concentrating on that word and you go to the next one, the word starts moving again. So reading was always a tiring thing, although I enjoyed it. It does wear you out. And it could be quite stressful, especially reading out loud. I came to reading quite late, and then I remember in infant school having to read out loud in front of the class was very stressful, and I would stutter just through nerves, because I knew that I would probably make a mistake.
Did you get sort of made fun of by your peers or bullied at all because of this, or had you coping strategies that you could use at school?
I was prime example to get bullied, really. I've always been large, and I've always been not being able to spell. And a few people tried.
Yeah.
I was literally told, by a teacher, "Oh, you're just stupid," or "You just can't do it." And a lot of the reasons why that didn't sort of make me crumble was that, again, my parents were very much, "You're not stupid." And you actually ask you question yourself. You do sort of go, "Well, am I stupid?" But then you go, "Well, no, because I understand that, and I can do this, and they can't do that, and I can do that. So I can't be stupid. If I was stupid, I wouldn't think about if I was stupid." And so you do question yourself and go, am I just not very intelligent? But the main thing with that was I just had to keep believing that I wasn't. And when you have support, people saying, "No, you're not stupid. You can do this. It just takes you longer," or "You can do this. You have to learn it in a different way," or you just have to work harder to get the same result. You can do that. I think I was born with probably an overabundance of self-confidence. And also I was taught, as soon as I learned I was dyslexic, it was very much it's nothing to be ashamed of. It makes you who you are. It's part of who you are. And it's a superpower, because I'm dyslexic, I am good at, this, I'm good at that. I can see pathways that nobody else can see. I can see solutions to problems that other people simply can't see. And so another thing that was taught to me that, dyslexia is a superpower. It's part of what makes me great at things. Force of will sometimes. It was never easy.
Yeah.
But it's a kind of mantra you have to keep saying. You have to keep going, "No, I can do it." And yes, it's hard, but it being hard doesn't mean I can't do it. And just bloody mindedness, to be fair. I'm really stubborn. And that really helped, because I just refused to let being dyslexic or my dyslexia beat me in a way. We're friends, but we're also enemies. So I love being dyslexic. It makes me who I am, and I like who I am. So that's a really good thing. And I've seen benefits of my dyslexia. I've seen the fact that I can figure things out and see things in a unique way. But also it does make every aspect of your life harder, and not just academically. So having a bad memory, it's really hard because you forget everything. You forget people's birthdays, you forget people's names, you forget why you walked into the room. You forget things that you shouldn't forget. And it does make, especially, I mean, with academics, writing essays, it makes everything harder. It makes research harder. It makes daily tasks harder. It makes, being organized to get up and go to work the next day, a project, everything has to be more planned. And you have to also find ways of communicating that to people. Because most people, if you forget things, if you forget people's names or you forget people's birthdays, they just think you don't care, and that's not it. It is that you are a goldfish, you just don't remember. So lists and dates and never losing my phone because it has every single contact and date and place I have to be in, are things you have to constantly explain to people. So I have forgotten your name. I will always forget your name. I'll forget your name until I've known you for about 3 years. And it's nothing to do with you. It's just because I just don't remember people's names.
Right. So are you open about your specific learning difficulty, your dyslexia, or do you sometimes not say, I've had enough of telling people about this, I'm going to be quiet about it in certain situations? Or you said it's such a part of you. Is it something you just let people know? Because a lot of people with it pass and try and pretend that they are, quote, normal, but there is no such thing as normal, but they pretend they are. Where do you stand on all of that?
I can understand why you would. And I have done it in some situations, especially in social gatherings where it's just too much to have to explain, I've met this person twice. Everyone else who's met them twice knows their name, remembers the conversation, and I don't. And it does get a bit much to have to keep saying, I'm sorry, I'm dyslexic, I have bad memory. And so if you're having a good day, and you I've got that confidence going, it's fine to say, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, I'm dyslexic, and I'm going to forget your name probably for at least 3 or 4 years. And sometimes you would just say, I'm sorry, the last time I met you, maybe I've had too many Jack and Cokes, or I'm sure lots of people I've met think I'm an alcoholic at this point because I simply don't remember the conversation we had. And so sometimes you say it, and sometimes it's too long a story, and I can absolutely understand why people would try and pretend it wasn't there. But I'm lucky in that close friends, family, partner knows that I'm dyslexic and can speak to a dyslexic, so it helps.
So now you're after your art degree or your graphic design degree, when you became a teaching assistant, I think, or did you do other things in between?
I worked briefly for some companies being a manager, and I hated it. The money was really good, but I was always that person that wanted someone to do something. When I meet people, it's all about, what do you do for the world? And in that job, I was having to be very nice and respectful to people that didn't really do anything. And it was already about the money and earning the money and, trying to sell the product. And I thought, well, I can't really do this job for very long without getting an ulcer or just not liking myself very much. And so I'd kind of been a TA in my mum's class since I was about 7. I used to do displays and stuff after school. And so I thought I'll do that for a while and see where that lands me, and fell in love with the job. And realized really it's my dream job. So it can be awkward, but luckily I'm very open about my dyslexia. So all the kids I work with know I'm dyslexic because I tell them. And I make a point of saying, I'm in your class, it's great. Just so you know, you might not want to bother asking me to help you do spellings because it's not going to work out well, because I'm dyslexic. And when they look at me and go, what's that? I say, well, it's my brain works in a different way to you, and I simply cannot remember how to spell. I said, there's lots of stuff I can remember and stuff I'm really good at, but spelling is one of the things that just I'm not very good at. And so so far, all the children have been really interested in that, and they've gone, oh wow, like you're an adult and you're telling us there's something you can't do very well. I'm like, yeah, and it's absolutely fine. It's not a problem. It's not stopped me doing what I want to do. It just means that it's been harder. And so when I say to the child, I know it's hard, but just because it's hard doesn't mean you can't try and do it. I'm kind of coming from a place where they know that, oh, you know that it's hard, but you can still try and do it.
And have you come across in all your different children you've contacted with anyone who you think might have the same condition and they've maybe seen you as a positive role model?
Quite a few. Quite a few. Even this last month, one of the year sixes confided in me that she saw words move.
Right.
So, oh, have you told anybody else? And she hadn't told anybody else. I said, okay, well, you know, we can sort that out. That's a problem we can solve. And I actually made her a yellow cover so she can read through yellow, and her reading has already improved quite a lot. And also, it's really good to work with the children and say, well, you know, I've achieved all this and I'm dyslexic as well. It's not going to stop you. It's just going to mean it's harder.
Okay.
And it being harder is okay. It's okay that it's harder. I mean, also parents, I've talked to quite a few parents. Some parents are very resilient to label their child with dyslexia. And so I've kind of rolled in and go, it is a label. I said, but with that label, we'll be able to get your child some help. And your child is intelligent and able and can do great things, but they just need a bit of help to get there. And so when you tell the parents, I'm dyslexic, and you know, and they want to kind of hear about academics, you know, I've got A levels and GCSEs and a degree and all those things, they go, oh, so that's a doable thing. I'm like, yes, it's very doable, but we just need to give a little bit of extra help.
So what would you say to that? Was it Asenko way back who said, oh, there's no such thing as dyslexia? What would you say now to that, people like that, the doubters, the naysayers?
I would say there's no real excuse now to not be educated about this subject. And once you talk to someone who has a specific learning difficulty like dyslexia, and then you ask them to write, it's very, very clear that it's two different people. It's two different levels of understanding and intelligence and knowledge and ability. And so for me, all those people that are being told you can't do it, or it's impossible, or all over the place, you see it in media, in films. There are characters that are dyslexic that are just sort of left because they can't do anything. My father, who's dyslexic, you know, was told, you're just lazy, you're not going to do anything.
Right.
And so people don't really have an excuse now. You really have to find out about these things and appreciate that the child in your class or your child that's dyslexic, it's really tiring and it's really stressful, and they are having to work harder. They are having to do more. They are having to expel more energy to get the same results. And it doesn't make that result less, it makes it more.
Right.
Small achievements are not small, they're big.
Right.
Every achievement should be celebrated.
Absolutely. And what about, does modern assistive technology, which we didn't have when you were going through school, like computers in every classroom, does that help, do you think, dyslexic people?
I think it would have helped me a great deal. All sorts of things that are now the standard in most places would have helped me, especially things like visual timetables that we have in all of our classrooms now. Takes a lot of stress out of the day because knowing what's coming next. It takes a lot of anxiety away. Using iPads for most things, especially now we have, each child has their iPad with them the whole day basically, and on their iPad they have all the slides of the lessons. Takes a lot of the anxiety away, because if you're dyslexic you might need longer on slide 2, and if the whole class is on slide 4, if you have the whole presentation in front of you, you can still go back and look at slide 2. You can go back and read it again. You can go back and look at it again without having to put your hand up and acknowledge, oh wait, I'm taking a bit longer and it's okay. I think it can be absolutely crushing. It can be incredibly damaging. I am very lucky in that I have a lot of self-confidence, but that's a thing I have to physically and mentally give myself every day. you have to wake up and go, no, I am gonna achieve, I'm gonna do stuff. And especially with new relationships, I've had partners that did not know I was dyslexic. And sometimes you just don't feel comfortable, because you know that you're going to be asked 1,000 questions, and you know people are going to go, well, what's that? Or, oh, can you read that? Or can you spell this? And it just becomes really tiring. And it can be really, 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 really soul destroying, because if you don't have a core belief that I am not stupid, if you don't have that somewhere deep inside, that belief of, no, I know I can't do that, I know I find this hard, but I know I'm not stupid, it's very easy to believe what people tell you. And if you can't spell, if you're not good at grammar, if you haven't got a good memory, the whole world kind of points at you and says, oh, you're stupid. And so unless you have that little voice that is backed up by other people saying you're not stupid, don't believe them. Whatever they're saying, it's not true. You know who you are, and you're not stupid. It's really hard. And I can really see, I mean, I've met other adults that went to school at the same time as me, who have huge chips on their shoulders about education, understandably so. Because when you're told by the teachers that are meant to be teaching you that, oh, you're just stupid, you believe it. You believe what you're told. Which is another reason why I love my job, because if I'm in the system, I can change the system.
Yeah. And so when you need support, do you have a network of people, other people with specific learning difficulties that you connect with, or don't you feel you need that?
I do have friends that are also dyslexic, which also helps with things like communication, like my text messaging, my WhatsApping. They speak dyslexic, so they can decipher. My partner, because we've been together for so long now, he is fluent in dyslexic and doesn't mind when I say to him, how do you spell that? And he just tells me, how do I write that? Is that right? What's this? And he goes, no, that's fine. You added 2 E's, you don't need to. I'm like, okay. Stuff like that. But I mean, most of my friends I think, yes, all my friends know I'm dyslexic, because, you know, I've told them. And sometimes they'll forget and say, oh, I told you that like last week. I'm like, unless you saw me write it down, it's gone.
How do you think it generally affects people, sort of hidden disabilities, but also all disabilities, in terms of how they see themselves? Do you think it's really about self-confidence as the key?
I think that is the key. I think self-confidence is the key. And I've been in relationships where I haven't told the person I'm dyslexic, just because I haven't felt comfortable enough yet. And even when you do feel comfortable enough, it's awkward. It's hard to tell someone, especially if there's no outward sign that something's different. It's hard to say, well, no, I can't do that, or I find that really hard, or you better write that because I'm going to spell it wrong, and they look at you like, but you're an adult, you know, you're spelling things wrong. I'm like, yes, I am. I'm spelling it really wrong, and this is why. So I think self-confidence is really key. It's really important that you know that dyslexia is simply a part of who you are. And if you accept it as a part of who you are and learn to like who you are, it stops being this huge kind of sword of Damocles that's hanging over your head whenever you meet anyone new. Partly, I think in my job, I've had to be very open about it, just because when you're teaching children, I've spelt stuff wrong. And, you know, the child's got, oh, miss, doesn't spell like that. Oh, brilliant. Can you tell me with the right spelling? Fantastic. Well done. You're a good speller. I'm a really bad speller.
You've got a kid in the class who's the spell checker. Who's
Yeah. I will happily ask, right, so, right, you are really good at spelling. I'm coming to you if I need any help. Or a child will say, oh, Miss Emma, how do you spell? And I'll look at them and they'll go, oh, yeah, never mind. I'm like, yeah, ask her. She's really good at spelling. And I make it, I use humor a lot as well.
Yeah.
I use humor a lot. Because although I laugh about it, being dyslexic does affect your life hugely in every aspect of going out, of remembering what you're doing, of organizing, you know, your social life or social engagements, and simply communicating with people. I mean, I've known some adults with dyslexia who just won't read in front of people or won't write anything down in front of people. And that's really sad, because the people that they might be educating in that, it might help them. So in my head, I kind of view I am the example of I can't spell this and it's okay. It's actually fine. I can't spell it. There are other things I can do to help me spell this. I can use my, I do use my phone. I use text messaging sometimes to check spellings, or I have Word on my phone. I'll use Word. And when I'm in the classroom with computers, I'll type stuff out. But when you're meeting new people, it's definitely something that I understand why people want to hide it.